Does this mean Caitlin has to wear the black Air Force Ones the rest of the series?
I mean, they're working. So, we made the joke. She has to bring them in her bag, wear them every day.
The Indiana Fever just lived through a heart-stopping moment that kept fans clinging to the edge of their seats, all sparked by Lexie Hull's breathtaking clutch steal. But what happened next stunned everyone even more. That single move didn't just rescue the game. It uncovered something deeper about Caitlin Clark herself. Whispers are now swirling, suggesting Clark might be carrying a secret lucky charm driving her rise with the Fever. Could this be the hidden force behind her dazzling performances? Today, we unravel the steal, the spark, and the shocking revelation. The shoes that have her teammates buzzing. Not every lucky charm glitters like gold. Sometimes it hides right in plain sight. Who would have thought Caitlin Clark's black Air Force Ones would ignite whispers across the WNBA playoffs? Teammate Lexie Hull now calls them legendary, half joking, half convinced they're Indiana's secret weapon. And after the drama of Game 3, who could really deny it? It all went down in Atlanta on a tense Thursday night. The Fever trailed the Dream by 3 with under a minute left. The kind of moment that usually shatters teams instead of shaping them. But Indiana refused to fold. Hull sliced through the defense for a clutch basket, narrowing the gap. Seconds later, Odyssey Sims found rookie star Aaliyah Boston in the paint. Her layup flipped the scoreboard, giving Indiana a 1-point edge with just 7 ticks remaining. The crowd gasped. The Dream scrambled. And in a heartbeat, the Fever closed out an 87-85 win, stamping their ticket to the semifinals. Yet instead of only dissecting plays and stats, the buzz shifted toward Clark's shoes. After the game, Hull laughed with reporters, crediting the win not just to Boston's composure or her own daring cut, but to the sneakers. "They're working," she grinned, turning what sounded like a playful aside into a viral headline. Could a pair of shoes really carry that kind of weight? Or were they just a symbol of grit fueling this squad? Of course, superstition wasn't the only story. Kelsey Mitchell was electric, dropping a game-high 24 points on a blistering 7 for 16 shooting spree. Without her steady firepower, Indiana's late-game miracle may never have had its stage. Across the court, Jordan Canada, Ryan Howard, and Alisha Gray combined for 53 points, pressing Indiana to its breaking point. Yet, somehow, in those closing seconds, the Fever never flinched. Now the question lingers. Should Caitlin Clark keep rocking those black Air Force Ones through the rest of the playoffs? Whether you call them a lucky charm or just a bold fashion statement, one thing's undeniable. The Fever's playoff run now carries an extra layer of mystery. But here's the real question. How does Lexie Hull's clutch steal connect to Caitlin Clark's so-called lucky charm? Stay locked in, because the answer might surprise you. Lexie Hull's clutch steal, Caitlin Clark's black sneakers. The Aces may have been favorites to dominate, but no one told Indiana to roll over. Against every prediction, this young squad forced themselves into the spotlight, proving that belief, resilience, and maybe even a dash of superstition can flip the script the league thought was already written. For Hull, her moment came with just 7 seconds left. The crowd tense, the game hanging in the balance, and a single play that could have sealed their fate. The Fever's assistant coach had seen the Aces' next move coming, and Lexie locked in, reading it like an open book. She darted in, snatched the ball clean, as if it had been destined for her hands all along. A steal so clutch it didn't just win a game, it rewrote the storyline. But here's the twist. It wasn't just the steal. Instead of rushing, instead of panicking, Lexie slowed the moment down. She played it cool, like a seasoned vet milking the clock, leaving Vegas scrambling helplessly. The buzzer blared, the Fever bench exploded, and in that instant, history was alive before our eyes. Inside the locker room, it was chaos in the best way. Laughter, screams, hugs, maybe even tears. This team had fought too hard, been doubted too long, sacrificed too much, not to soak in the weight of what they'd just done. Semifinals, a word that once felt unreachable, had become reality. And the sweetest part? They'd earned it inch by inch. Play by play, never bowing out, even when the tide pushed against them. But no Fever story is ever complete without Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom who's been lighting up headlines with her deep threes and fearless vision. And now, the whispers around her have taken a playful turn. It's not about her shot this time, it's about her shoes. Those black Air Force Ones she's been rocking in every crucial win. Teammates tease that she can't take them off. That maybe, just maybe, there's a little magic stitched into those sneakers, keeping this miracle alive. So now, the question hanging in the air, does Caitlin Clark have to keep wearing those black Airs for the rest of the series? One reporter teased, and the whole room cracked into knowing smiles. They're good, Lexie laughed, half a joke, half the truth. We made her bring them in her bag and wear them every day. It sounded silly, sure. Shoes don't win basketball games. But anyone who's ever been part of a team knows these little rituals carry weight. They're not about luck. They're about unity, about having something small to laugh at, to believe in, to hold on to when the pressure feels suffocating. And if those black sneakers keep the Fever loose, confident, and fearless, then why not let the legend keep growing? Because behind the laughter, there's something deeper. This run means everything, especially to veterans who've suffered through the tough years in Indianapolis. Players like Kelsey Mitchell, who endured the rebuild, are finally tasting the sweetness of success. The rookies, like Caitlin, are busy carving their own chapters, but they're standing on the foundation laid by those who came before. Every single player, even the one stuck on the injured list, has poured something into this journey. That's what makes this team magnetic. They're not just chasing wins. They're demanding respect. When Lexie spoke about being doubted, it wasn't anger. It was pride. Pride that they trusted the process, trusted each other, and flipped the improbable into the undeniable. And now, the question lingers. Can the Fever stretch this fairy tale and topple a giant like Las Vegas? Will Caitlin's black Airs become as iconic as her logo threes? Or will another hero, maybe Lexie again, rise when the next game dangles on a knife's edge? Nobody knows. That's the thrill. What's clear is this: the Fever have arrived, and they've brought with them grit, heart, and just enough magic to keep the entire basketball world hooked on every possession. Because whether it's Lexie's steal or Caitlin's shoes, they're proving that sometimes the tiniest details, the steals, the sneakers, can live forever as legend. And just when you think the story's settled, another twist hits. Could Steph's return be the real turning point in basketball history? Stay locked in, because the comeback that changed everything is here. For the first time since 2015, the spotlight burns this bright. And the reason is simple. Steph is back. For nearly a decade, fans whispered about what her presence could mean. Now, this season has finally delivered the full circle moment everyone waited for. And the effect? Nothing short of extraordinary. Steph doesn't always get the credit she deserves. Maybe because her leadership isn't loud, it's steady. Think about it. Juggling a roster of injuries, new faces, shifting roles, and veterans takes more than strategy. It takes belief. She stitched that chaos together, turned it into a force, and carried her team through the storm, straight into the heart of competition. Against the odds, against the doubt, she's showing why this return isn't just a comeback. It's a reckoning. What makes Steph's influence so powerful isn't just her strategy, it's her demeanor. Calm, composed, quietly in control. Fired up when needed, but steady when the pressure mounts, a balance that has carried her team through highs and lows, sharpening her in big moments rather than rattling her. So much so that her teammates don't just look for plays, they look for her composure, because as one player said, she's built for big moments, her fire and wisdom blending into a leader who teaches. Resilience by example, turning every practice, every huddle, every timeout into a lesson, her presence whispering, I've been here before, and we can do this again, and somehow her team believes it before it even happens. While hidden gems step in too, like the one who in just 18 minutes shifted the entire game with relentless defense, blocks, and hustle. Contributions that linger beyond stats, the mark of a true professional, always ready, never complaining, molded by a culture Steph herself has built, where humility and sharpness are demanded, and now, nearly a decade after her last big chapter, it feels like her story is only beginning. fans wondering if this is just a return or the start of something even greater. But what's clear is that Steph has changed the game again. Not with headlines, not with noise, but with steady brilliance strong enough to carry a team through storms into history. And yet, while Steph's comeback defines one narrative, another superstition fuels the Fever's fire. Caitlin Clark's black Air Force Ones, a simple choice of sneakers turned into folklore as media headlines screamed miracle and unbelievable. Social platforms lit up with memes, jokes, and theories. Some fans swearing the shoes were cursed for Atlanta, but blessed for Indiana. Others dubbing them the true MVP. One even saying, forget the playbook, just never take those shoes off. And somehow it stuck. Because in a game where the Fever were down, momentum fading, heartbreak looming, came the rally, possession by possession, energy surging, the crowd rising. And by the final buzzer, Indiana had pulled off a comeback so unreal even veteran commentators were left searching for words. It was grit, it was resilience, it was sheer belief. But fans insisted it was also the shoes. And isn't that the beauty of sports, the way something so small, so ordinary, can transform into legend? Because Caitlin Clark didn't just score points. She gave people a story to cling to, turning those black Air Force Ones into more than sneakers. They became symbols of toughness, swagger, and maybe even a little bit of magic. And the Fever's locker room after the game reflected that same raw spirit. No speeches, no theatrics, just emotion and a simple truth. Nothing matters, not the score, not the circumstances, not the pressure, because this team has survived it all and refuses to quit. And that defiance is exactly what fans have fallen in love with the shoes giving everyone a way to put that fire into words. And now, as Indiana heads into the semifinals, the spotlight only burns brighter. Will the superstition hold? Will Clark keep lacing up the same pair? Or will the magic vanish the moment she switches them out? Nobody knows. But that's the fun of it, because sports thrive on these little mysteries, the what-ifs and maybes that make every game feel like destiny. And for now, all eyes are locked on the Fever and those black Air Force Ones. Rallying cry, meme, superstition, prophecy. And if Indiana keeps winning, you can bet the legend will grow. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about belief, momentum, and a team, and a pair of sneakers that simply refuse to die. Yet, as magical as it feels, the fairy tale collides head-on with reality. Because waiting for Indiana isn't another chapter. It's a wall of fire. The Las Vegas Aces, the boss level of the WNBA. A dynasty in motion with Aya Wilson, Chelsea Gray, and Jackie Young. Names that strike fear before the ball even tips. A team that doesn't crack under pressure but thrives on it. Championship killers who know how to punish mistakes and crush dreams. And Indiana knows it, especially with Becky. Hammond already warning the league that the champs haven't even shown their full form yet. A statement that isn't bravado but intimidation. A reminder that the clock ticks louder for challengers. And for Indiana, this series is more than basketball. It's the ultimate test of whether grit, resilience, and belief are enough to withstand the storm. Their season has been nothing but blows, injuries, doubts, setbacks. And yet every single time they found a way to rise, almost as if this young Fever squad feeds off being cornered, daring the world to push them further. But now the wall isn't blank anymore. It's painted red and black with the Aces logo. The best of 5 semifinals show no mercy. No shortcuts, no lucky bounces, no room for sloppy mistakes. Against Vegas, a single missed rotation, one rush pass, could tilt the entire night. Every possession is loaded. Every whistle threatens momentum. And the Aces? They live for those cracks. They've built their empire punishing teams who blink for even half a second. Indiana's defense was a lifeline against Atlanta, suffocating them out of rhythm. But Vegas? That's another universe, entirely. To survive here, the Fever need flawless execution, relentless hustle, and maybe just a touch of the same magic that's carried them to this stage. And what makes this run so compelling isn't just the rising stars. It's the bond inside the locker room. Players talk about the trust coach, Stephanie White, breathes into them. She believes in every single body on the roster. One Fever player said, "It doesn't matter how many minutes you play, she'll tell you to be ready." That belief has been their glue, the thing holding them steady when outsiders expected them to collapse. But let's be honest, this isn't a fair fight. On paper, Vegas should steamroll. They're tested, stacked, hungry to etch dynasty in stone. Indiana, by comparison, is the wild card, the underdog scribbling out a fairy tale nobody saw coming. The real intrigue isn't whether the Fever can match Vegas bucket for bucket. It's whether they can rattle them enough to make them sweat. Can Aaliyah Boston muscle her way past Aya Wilson? Or will Wilson remind the league why she's forever in MVP talks? Can Caitlin Clark's fearless playmaking cut through a defense designed to suffocate? Can Hull and Mitchell summon those dagger moments again? This time against the league's deadliest closers? The answers aren't written, and that's what makes this showdown magnetic. Because fairy tales don't always end where you expect. Sometimes sparks catch fire against the strongest steel. For Indiana, survival isn't just about advancing. It's about proving they belong on this stage against this empire at this level. For Vegas, it's about protecting the crown, reminding everyone why they rule. One thing certain, the Fever aren't walking into a game. They're stepping into fire, with the world watching to see if they burn or blaze brighter than ever. Grit, glory, and a fight against the odds. Stephanie White knows in playoff basketball, adjustments aren't strategy. They're survival. Every timeout, every sub, every sketch on the clipboard could decide if Indiana carves deeper into history or watches their season end. Facing rosters lined with rings and scars, the Fever aren't just hooping. They're proving they deserve the same stage as the league's most ruthless dynasty. But beneath the X's and O's, this story is about grit, resilience, and fragile belief blooming into something real. Indiana's past hasn't been kind. 5 coaches in 8 years isn't instability, it's chaos. And for vets like Kelsey Mitchell, it left wounds. She said it herself, raw after a season-defining win. I've had 5 coaches in 8 years. Not a complaint, a perspective, a reminder of how far she and this franchise have come. On that night, Mitchell was untouchable. 24 points on near-perfect shooting. Every basket weighted with her journey. And when the game wavered into doubt, it was Mitchell who steadied the storm. When Atlanta struck back with firepower, Jordan Canada slicing through defenses, Ryan Howard finding her rhythm, and Alicia Gray catching fire for a combined 53 points. It was Kelsey Mitchell who answered with calm precision, reminding everyone why her jersey still commands respect. Yet, even as Mitchell stole the headlines, the deeper current of this Fever story runs quieter but stronger. Players once fighting just to stay in the league now form the backbone of a team that, for the first time in years, feels complete. Lexie Hull put it simply, everyone gets along. No drama. We're just chill, and it shows on the court. That chemistry, built on patience and persistence, might just be their secret weapon against the storm that looms ahead. And what a storm it is. With Thursday's win, Indiana punched its ticket to the second round, straight into the jaws of the Las Vegas Aces, the modern WNBA powerhouse. Facing them means colliding with a dynasty in motion, a roster built on execution as cold as steel and depth that stretches all the way down the bench. For a young team still shaping its identity, it's the kind of challenge that could either crush them or carve them into something unforgettable. But here's where the drama deepens. This run could also mark the end of an era before it truly begins. Lexie Hull, whose hustle and clutch plays have been priceless, is nearing the end of her contract. An unrestricted free agent once the season closes. She steps on the court each night knowing it could be her last in a Fever uniform. That shadow adds a weight no stat line can measure. Every rebound, every stop, every daring steal feels like a love letter to a franchise that finally believes again. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about rewriting their story in real time. From the despair of losing years to the spark of this playoff push, they carry both the burden of history and the thrill of possibility. One mistake could mean elimination. One perfect stretch could mean history. Because sometimes basketball isn't just a game, it's a fight for respect. And for Indiana, that fight has only just begun. So tell me, what do you think Lexie Hull's clutch steal really says about Caitlin Clark's so-called lucky charm for the Fever? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.